Yo, yo, it's ODB. From the thumbnail, you probably saw this is going to be a new item that I'm going to unbox. Let me give a huge shout out to Howard in South Florida. The big homie came through, saw him at Eastbound Get Down 2026. And he goes, yo, Jay, I got something for you, homie. He got me a couple things. One was a Lincoln dealership item. He also hooked me up with this, knowing into Lincolns. I appreciate it. I think these are newer, and I haven't been able to find one yet. And the main Hot Wheels I have are mini trucks and Lincolns. That's it. A couple full sizes. But this was another item that he gave me, and I want to give a huge shout out to him. I tried to get this when it first came out. I believe, if I recall correctly, this was released for San Diego Comic-Con. And usually the fans go kind of crazy because they go, well, what if I can't go? What if I can't make it? What if I'm not going to be there? What if they sell out? Well, what Mattel Creations did is they went back, which I was assuming they were going to do that with this. They went back and they said, hey, we're going to do a release online. And what we're going to do is we're going to allow for you to purchase these through the Mattel Creations. And I forget if that's through the app, but I bought a couple things over the course of time, if I remember correctly. Bill from Camp and Drag, the big homie, always looks out. He got me involved with the Red Line Club so I could get the Lincoln a year or so ago. So that was kind of cool. But all I've done is take out the two cardboard pieces on top that were kind of filler to make sure that this thing was obviously shipped out. These, if I recall correctly, they were limited to 2. And just like when I bought the Nissan Hardbody through the Red Line Club, they were limited to 2, and I bought 2, and I did gift one away. I kind of traded it away to someone that really wanted one that wasn't able to get one. So for Howard to do this, it was super cool. So I really appreciate it. Typically, when I take this stuff apart, I try to take decent care, but something like that, like on a little thing like this, I'm not going to take the time to, peel the thing. I'm just going to slice through it, the little sticky deal right there. Now, this is super cool because obviously it's Back to the Future. He mentioned that to me when I started to open it. The box itself is the Dr. Emmett Brown Enterprises. This resembles, as you know, probably the van, if you will, when Marty goes to the Twin Pine Mall at the beginning of the film. Then it's the Lone Pine Mall at the end. When he goes there, Doc Brown, of course, famously, the unveiling of the DeLorean coming out of the back of the van. What I always thought was intriguing is, if you think about that scene, here's something you may have never thought about. In order for Doc to have gotten in that car, he would have had to remotely let down the back, driven out, tested, then driven back in and remotely closed the door for when Marty got there, because the gull wing doors, he would have never been able to open the gull wing doors inside the van because they wouldn't have opened. I don't know. Do I overthink things sometimes? Possibly, yes, but that's who I am. But anyways, enough with that. Back to the Future rules. Probably my all-time favorite movie, although I am a huge fan of Rad 1986. Ironically, Back to the Future 85, Rad 86. They're obviously way different production levels. Rad is a cult classic, and Back to the Future is a classic. And what I'll probably do, this is probably the way I'll do it. This guy just peeled totally off, and as long as it wasn't going to rip the box, that's probably what I would do. I just wanted to mention that because I did mention earlier, I kind of just sliced through it. I do take care when I kind of open stuff like this because I am known to keep the boxes. I bought years ago when Mattel was doing, before the Mattel collection, they had a guy on board there where they were doing something called Matty Collector, Matty, which is ironically the name of my wife, but she's IE. And they did the Back to the Future 2, the hoverboard that makes the sounds. That was the first time it had really been produced, I think, way before the Halloween costumes and some of the other things out there. But I bought that, and I still have the box to it, which is cool because a lot of the people that have them now, the companies that are releasing them aren't putting out like a box like it would have come in if it was something real back in, the 80s or, well, in the film 2015. So this is super cool. So we're looking here, right? So this, again, is supposed to be the step van deal. This looks like the back, right? So Doc Brown would put this out the ramp. Now, I haven't watched any unboxings on this, so I actually have no idea other than the way it kind of looks. And then there you would have Doc taking this out, so that, like, they've taken a lot of care to make this pretty cool unboxing experience, which is a big thing nowadays, right? So it looks like it's unveiling. So again, remember, this car, to get in there, you wouldn't have been able to open the gull wing doors. Again, something, I don't know, my brain thinks about. So I'm going to take this out. You see there's basically, that's kind of cool. If you had the space to display this, you could kind of keep that. And look, there's even some oil stains in there in a rag. Talk about details. It's pretty awesome. You got Hot Wheels Premium there. And let's do the reveal. This is the bad boy right here. So a very cool display, right, that you can kind of keep this in. We have the top view, the top of the, I call them step vans from my buddy Tony. That's, because he was in the delivery world. Twin Pines Mall, 1:16 a.m. We have the BTTF 40th, right? So that was a very cool logo that they did, that Universal did for the official 40th anniversary. On this side, you saw that's kind of quote unquote backing out of the van with the little pull tab deal. And then really the money shot is that you have there's a little bit of a glare, so I apologize. This thing's pretty shiny. You have the Dr. Emmett Brown, and then you have the DeLorean. Super cool. Back to the Future, Time Machine, and GMC Value Van. There you go, which is cool. I want to give a shout out to BTTIG, Eric. He's been on the podcast before, and he was on a video episode. Eric arguably is just done the coolest stuff ever with Back to the Future Instagram. The meetups they're doing. There were always, I think, meetups, but never to the level that we're seeing now with the enthusiasts, with the Marty 4x4. There's a guy that has one of these GMC vans. Of course, there's the VW bus. Every aspect of it is super cool. The DeLorean, of course, the hero, type vehicle in the movie. But I got a chance to visit this spot years ago with Sean from at All About Los Angeles. And I'm so glad he hit me up. I mean, I was basically planning to link up with him, but I was kind of busy when I was there. And he goes, "Yo, Jay, let's hit In-N-Out Burger. Then let's go over to the Twin Pines Mall." And I'm glad that I did, because, there's all of this, everything we're hearing now is that it's going to be redeveloped, unfortunately, because malls are just not what they used to be. It's going to be the Zero Pine Mall, I guess you could say. Something else that I would say, speaking of the mall, I'm not going to take this out at the moment, but if you take a look in there, you've got a couple things. Number one, you've got the photo deal. These were big in the 80s. There's videos on YouTube about the history of those, the little photo huts, if you will. And you could bring your film there, and it was a big thing that, you could drop it off and pick it up. I don't know that it was a 1-hour photo. So there's that, which the van runs into. But then also in the background, you can see the actual look and feel of the mall itself with would that be called a diorama? Kind of the exterior. So super awesome. I mean, what a cool thing. And in closing, I will say this. I did attempt to buy this. And with any of these high-end sought after pieces, whether it's $50, $100, whatever, the stuff goes quick. A lot of them do a very good job, especially, these guys got it pretty much down pat, where you're into a queue. And I think I went into it that day and it says, you have to wait approximately X amount of minutes, and then boom, it says sold out, right? So there's such a high demand for it. I think they sold out with the Casio did something to me was kind of not a good launch, but I wasn't too concerned with it. Casio did a watch for the 40th. Even if I don't get something, I'm still happy to see that Universal continues to lean into the BTTF fandom, because it's such a popular film, and it leaves it out there. If somebody wants to buy it on the resale market, cool. Because I have a friend, good enough friend, Howard, thank you so much for this. Means a lot, man. I can add it to the collection back here. I've got an entire display case, one of the IKEA deals, if you will, and it'll go in there as really kind of one of the prime cubes, if you will, in the 4-stack deal. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think. Did you get one? Do you want one? I didn't think I was going to ever get one. Howard, thank you again. Stay on the rise. And Back to the Future for life, y'all. BTTF. ODB, we out ya. Peace.